Might seem weird, but I swear it's a true story. Posted by u/deusconcilium. I was still living at my dad's house. I was about 16 to 17 yo. It started the day we visited the house, just got chills thinking about it. We were doing a house tour with the property seller, from a company, when my dad told me, "This is going to be your room." Soon as I entered the room, I knew I would never sleep there. I had that weird feeling like no FKG way I'm sleeping here. Finally my dad bought the house. The first night, I slept in that particular room and I actually haven't been able to sleep. I was not believing in ghosts, still not sure, but there was just something about this room I wasn't able to explain, just a strong bad feeling. I'm not someone who had ever been scared by this kind of stuff. The day after, I told my dad I would never sleep in that room again and he saw I was dead serious. He knew I wasn't the kind of guy to care about this stuff, but actually I did at that time. So he decided to build me a new room in the huge basement. Like new walls and stuff. Room didn't exist before we built it. A week or two went by and then I started to hear voices in my imagination. It was just strange. Then, I started to hear an unstable table knocking softly on the wall for no particular reason, and doors that I knew I closed were open when I went to the bathroom at night. I told my dad and he started to make fun of me by opening doors and knocking on the basement door saying it wasn't him. My best friend once came and he felt something strange too and didn't want to come back to sleep after, even when he was drunk, was worst. He was telling me things like no FKG way I'm sleeping in that basement again. After a month or so, I started doing sleep paralysis on a weekly basis. Scared the F out of me tbh. Never saw anything more than my empty room though. Actually, I never saw something, always strange feelings and doors that had been opened, and creepy voices in my head. I was a serious hockey player with no drugs or mental problems. One day, I was at my GF's house and I was talking to her about it. Her mom heard some of what I was saying and came immediately. She was some kind of medium or I don't know what. She listened to me and told me she would come to see what was going on. It's after that discussion I really started to get scared, because before that I was convinced there was a physical reason behind all of it. So she came and I will always remember the look she gave me, strong FKG chills again. She immediately got out and told me, "There's one guy who's not happy and he carries a heavy weight on his foot, and there's another guy who only wants to make jokes. I'll take care of that." She also told me some things that was probably happening in the house. They did, without me having told anybody about it. From that moment, nothing ever happened again. I asked her what she did and she told me, "I went to my bedroom, made them came here, and then I hunted them away from my house." She was living at least 30 km from my house. I know it sounds weird, but the fact that nothing ever happened after creeps me out. I would like to add the fact that I did some research afterwards. Theirs was only one owner before my dad, and he confirmed me that he built the house and nothing tragic ever happened in the house. Nobody died in it. I would also add that I'm French, so probably you had difficulties understanding me. I'm sorry. Thought you guys could help me understand what happened in this house. Like from the moment she left the house and did her thing, I didn't know she had chased them from her house. Nothing ever happened again. No voices, no sleep paralysis, no doors, no shaking unstable table, no creepy feelings, nothing at all. Still creeps me out just thinking about it. There is something in my forest. For context, I'm a 27-year-old woman. My boyfriend and I were able to purchase 15 acres of land this year right next to a national forest in the Carolinas. It has always been my dream to live in a forest on a mountain, and we were so excited when we found the land. It was priced so low and is a 5-minute drive from the lake, so we of course grabbed it up as fast as we could get the loan approved. We put a small mobile home in the middle of the property where we currently live while we have our home built about 3 acres away. There isn't much built now, just the cement slab and a few metal beams and roof. It's going to be a barn dominium. Now on to the story. We moved onto the land in late May and everything seemed great. A few weeks ago I started taking my 2 dogs out for walks around the forest to check where the property lines were and also just to enjoy the scenery, as it truly is beautiful. We got to where the property line ended and the national forest began, and I wanted to go further in as I knew there was a trail you could take nearby that leads to the top of the mountain at a rest area where I planned to call my boyfriend and have him come get me and the dogs. The actual hike itself might take about 1.5 hours, and there is a road the rangers take to get to the top that he could drive up. We were about halfway to the trail, or so I thought, when my German Shepherd Crush takes off into the woods barking. He's usually very well trained and comes when called, but he was hell-bent on chasing something. Luckily my other dog isn't as excitable and she stayed by me. We went deeper into the forest looking for my dog when I heard what I thought was a wild boar. If you have never heard a boar, Imagine what you assume a demon crawling out of hell sounds like, and that's pretty much it. I got nervous as I know a boar could easily gut my dog with their tusk, and started yelling out for Crush to come. I could hear him barking angrily, and we made our way to where the sounds were coming from. I found him looking up, barking and snarling near a large tree, and tried to pull him away. He wouldn't budge. I had to literally pick up this 80-pound dog and shuffle carry him about 100 feet away, where I sat him down. My other dog stayed by the tree whining, her tail in between her legs. I called for her to come to me, and she did a 180 and took off in the other direction. I looked up in the tree but couldn't really see much, so I just chalked it up to one big ass raccoon. It took about 2 hours, but I was finally back on my line with the dogs. I told my boyfriend about it when we got home, and he recommended not taking them out too far without leashes as to avoid this again. When I asked him what he thought it was, he agreed either a possum or raccoon, but I told him it didn't explain the boar sound. He just said it's the woods, there's a lot of animals, and left it at that. A few days later, I was working from home when my dogs started going nuts. Crush started snarling and jumping up at the window. I yelled for them to stop barking, and since I had to make a call, I let the dogs out with intention to bring them back in afterwards. It took all of 10 minutes. When I opened the door, my little dog was sitting on the porch and bolted inside. Crush was gone. I stepped out and started calling for him, scanning the woods for a big furry black butt. I couldn't see or hear him, so I started into the woods calling for him. I made my way to where the house is being built, and he was standing by the right-hand side of it. I called for him. He stood there frozen, ignoring me, so I walked over to him when I saw what he was staring at. It was very large and on all fours. I don't know what it was. At first my initial thought was a managed hairless bear because of its size, but there aren't bears in that forest. I double-checked before we moved in because I was worried about the dogs getting into it with one. It also was lean, so I know it wasn't a bear, as it was too thin to be one healthy enough to walk. There was fur or hair, but only on the back, and it was either dark brown or black. I couldn't see a face but could tell it did not have an animal snout. I grabbed Crush's collar and tried to tug him towards the construction, trying not to make any sudden movements. I felt the thing watching me as I led Crush into the middle of the concrete. I didn't take my eyes off it. It was about 10 yards away when I heard the boar noise again. It was coming from it. Crush started barking and jumping towards it with me attached to him via collar. I just said fuck that, jerked Crush back towards me and started running back towards the mobile home. I slammed the door, locking it behind me, and grabbed my gun. I called my boyfriend a few times before he answered and started yelling at him to come home. There is something on the property. He was home in 10 minutes and took his truck over to the construction. When he got back, he said he didn't see anything. It's been a couple weeks since then, and this past weekend I saw it again. My boyfriend had to work late, so I was home with the dogs watching TV when my little one scratched at the door to be let out to potty. Crush followed her out and I left them to do their business. When I opened the door, little one was shaking and couldn't get in fast enough. She hid under the dining table and refused to come out. I called out for Crush and couldn't see him as he's a black dog in the woods at night. I grabbed the flashlight and walked the perimeter of the house looking for him. I saw a big furry black butt at the back of the house where the tree line began and called for him. He didn't move. I started towards him when I heard a bark from behind me. I felt my heart and stomach drop. I wanted to cry because I knew what I was looking at, and it wasn't my dog. He was behind me. I felt this overwhelming feeling of fear and dread and anger and did something insane and stupid. I yelled at it and threw sticks. I told it to get away from us, get off my land, that I wanted to fucking kill it. I seriously thought I was losing my mind because before I knew it I was running towards it. I was about 5 feet away when that thing leapt up and into the woods. Its back legs were so long I thought it was going to kick me. It smelled like earth and rot. I got a better look at the back of its body. It was borderline human looking, long limbs, short torso. Luckily my moment of insanity was over and my dumbass didn't chase it into the woods. I was mildly pleased with myself that I got it to run away. I started heading back towards Crush and the house when I heard the boar noises again, only they weren't just behind me but all around the woods. I told my boyfriend. He thinks I was seeing things. I called my dad, who told me to burn sage on the property and have a shaman come and bless the land as he thinks it's a skinwalker. He's Blackfoot. I don't know what to do. I bought some cables to hook the dogs to when they go outside so they can't go too far. I carry my gun with me anytime I have to be outside. I love this property. I love the forest and the mountains. I hate that I'm afraid anytime I walk outside. Has anyone seen something like this before? Does anyone have an idea what this is and how to keep it away from us? My boyfriend doesn't go into the woods much, so I doubt if he will ever see it, so I just sound like a crazy woo-woo lady to him. Mom passed away in this weird house. Something's not right. Anyone know how to find online if an address had previous deaths in it? A little bit ago my mom passed away at a young age with no pre-existing illness. Death was ruled natural causes, after we moved to a small old rental home only 4 days after we moved in. She was our everything, and I feel I lost my best friend to this horrible home. Me and my siblings have always felt there was something up with this address having to continue to suffer to live there for a while after her death. Something dark, very dark. Seeing shadow things, being touched, pushed or scratched, and the skin being broke. Feelings of pure dread and weird spot of the home. Animals acting out of character. Friends refusing to come back to the house without explanation. Just out of curiosity I want to see the history of this address. Been Googling for days and can't get anywhere without paying a hefty price.
Thanks for watching. Please do like, share, comment and subscribe for more videos.